if women are healthy, if their wellness is optimized, they're going to make sure that society's health is optimized.
Hello there. This is Dr. Erkeda here with another fabulous guest, Dr. Ruth Arumala. I'm just going to give you an opportunity to tell us a little bit about yourself and your journey to medicine.
So, hi everybody. My name is Dr. Ruth Arumala, and I am a board-certified OB-GYN. I'm a reproductive surgeon, so I do surgeries that help preserve the uterus. I don't do hysterectomy. So they're for women that want to retain their fertility or for some reason want all their parts. And I went to a second fellowship to specialize in cosmetic surgery. My fellowship was a facial and general cosmetic surgery fellowship. However, I only practice body. So I do breast, body contouring, and genital aesthetics.
That's awesome. So as you mentioned, you are an advocate for women and you work in women's health, so you're definitely an expert. And you're working in a time where women's rights are being stripped away. You have a pretty popular Instagram, and I'm sure we'll share that in the show notes when this is done, but you speak a lot about advocacy and protecting rights and just empowerment, which I love. So how can we work to advocate for women as physicians and future physicians?
So, 50% of the population are women. So that's really just a given. You either are a woman or love a woman in some way, shape, or form. So I think that in general, in any single specialty that you're in, you can take your extra time to make sure that you are thinking about the whole person. So let's say you're an ENT, you're dealing with the sinuses of a baby or a child, and taking the extra time to ask their mother how she's doing, how she's coping, how she's dealing with this, time consuming and probably emotionally wrecking part of her life. I think really advocating for women in medicine, in the practice of medicine, is really about making sure that we practice humanity. It's back to the core of what medicine was supposed to be. Medicine right now, and a lot of you are just starting your journey, but you'll figure out as you go along that medicine has sort of been a little bit bastardized in that it now is about the business of medicine. And don't trust me, I love money. I'm a businesswoman. But at the end of the day, medicine is about taking care of people. So when you're advocating for women, it's just going the extra step, making sure that you're doing the best you can for your patients, making sure that you're thinking about the whole patient, who they are, not just their body, not just a part of their body that you're dealing with. I treat women's health, wellness, and beauty. That is what I do. And I chose to go into this field because I recognize in my training as an OB-GYN that the one time that women are guaranteed beautiful, proper, well thought out medical care is when they are pregnant. But think about it in a woman's lifespan. How many years are you pregnant? Even if you have 13 children, it's still a little over 14 years of your life that you're pregnant. All those other years, the bookends, the younger women who are teenagers who don't know about their body and trying to learn about their body, and everyone is shaming them as they go through this maturation process. A lot of women are afraid of the changes that are happening because they become prey. My job is to make sure that they're educated, that they know how to take care of themselves, how to navigate the world, how to think about relationships, how to think about the exchange of how you give out your body, your time, your passion. And on the other end, women that are going through menopause, they think that they're discarded. They're no longer a part of society because they can't contribute because they can't have babies. Those are the type of women that I take care of. And all the way in between, women, part of who we are is our appearance. For better or for worse, we are married to our appearance. So, helping women optimize what they have, making sure that they feel confident in their skin, that they're able to stand and exude the beauty that is women. That's my life's passion. You can probably hear how passionate I am talking about it. But I want to encourage you, you're young in medicine, explore ways that you can optimize women's health care because, it's really evident in almost everything that we do that that's kind of a second, it's not prioritized. It's a second thought. And it could be your first thought. And that's the next, because if women are healthy, if their wellness is optimized, they're going to make sure that society's health is optimized, right? A lot of men, the reasons why they see their doctors because their wife made them, their partners made them, right? A lot of kids, who's the primary caretaker in the majority of families, that is kind of evolving, which I love because I think that the male influence in children is really important. And my idea is not that women are better than men and we should only pay attention to them, or men are better than women and we should only pay attention to them. We can pay attention to everyone. We have the bandwidth, we have the bandwidth to do that.
I love that. And you brought up so many different points. Number one, we all love women, whether or not you are a woman or you love a woman and you're related to one, married to one, a friend of one. So we all
came out of one.
Or came out of one, which we all did. So it's so important to honor that and figure out ways in which you can move them forward. In medicine, a lot of times, like you said, even medicine is pushed by women. I always tell men that they come to the doctor for one of four reasons: because your wife or your girlfriend told you, your job or your school told you, you think you have an STD, or you think you're dying and you're really in pain. So one of those primary reasons why we're getting this preventative care as men is likely because of a woman. So we have to figure out ways to empower, make them feel beautiful, make them feel heard and listened to, because it's so important. So I love the work that you're doing with that. And another way that you're working to advocate for women is that you're the host of Pretty in Pink podcast, the Modern Girl's Guide to Women's Health. So what made you want to start that podcast?
Very interesting. I started the podcast in 2018, going into 2019. So that was a very special time in my life. I was doing a minimally invasive GYN surgery fellowship. That's my reproductive medicines, reproductive surgery fellowship. And for those of you that are really young and maybe 17 listening, and you're thinking, okay, what does she mean by fellowship? So, when you go through medical school, you become a physician. And then after you become a physician in the US, you have to specialize, or you don't have to, but in order to practice, most of us specialize. And so we specialize in one field, and then you can subspecialize. And the process of subspecializing is called a fellowship. So I was already an OB-GYN and I was subspecializing as a reproductive surgeon. During that time, I was in Oklahoma and I did not know anybody in the state. So I was a little bit bored. And boredom, guys, is not always a bad thing. Isolation and boredom is not always a bad thing. It can allow you to focus. And it was some of the most productive times in my life. And I decided I was going to start a love letter to my patients. I was going to start explaining to them, what are ovarian cysts? What is endometriosis? What is adenomyosis? What are fibroids? What does it mean? What is the period story? I started there. And I'm not going to lie to you guys. I recorded 20 episodes that I will never, ever publish because I hated the sound of my voice. I actually have a speech impediment. Can't tell because I've done so many podcasts in my life to erase it. And so I would have a lot of ums and ums and stuttering. And I had to really work on that. But I was determined that my voice was going to be. At that time, podcasts were not big. Podcasts became big in 2020. And all my podcasts were audio based. They were not visual and audio. They were audio based. And there were a couple of reasons why. First of all, the podcast is called the Pretty in Pink podcast because the vagina is pink. And the vagina is not a bad word. It is pink. And it's the essence of who a woman is. It doesn't matter if you're Latina. It doesn't matter if you're from Bangladesh. It doesn't matter if you are European. All of us have pink vaginas. So that is a unifying force. And that's why I call it the Pretty in Pink podcast. The second reason why I made it audio only is because in my first season and the second season, because I've done 2 seasons and 109 episodes, almost all of my guests were Black women. And there's something about Black women in our field, have a lot of education, a lot of training. We're not given the voice to actually be heard. A lot of the times we can do and we can just navigate, but we're not giving the platforms to be heard. So I wanted us to be heard and not seen necessarily. So you can hear the intellect that we have. You can hear the power in our voice, and you can hear the perspective that is completely unique, and how our takes on these issues that affect all women. And so I made it audio only so that no one is judging you by how beautiful you are, especially using European standards, whether your nose was wide, whether you were pretty for a Black girl, whether you had big breasts, whether you were obese. I wanted your voice to be heard. But through that, I learned something that I think is really valuable to you that are listening, is that no matter who you are, your voice is necessary. And not only is it necessary, it is needed. Because your perspective, you're the only one that walks in the shoes that you have from the perspective that you have. So the world needs that. We can't keep living in a very narrow focus, from a very narrow focus perspective. Your voice is necessary. So cultivate your voice.
That is so important. And you brought out a great fact, because so many people are hustling and bustling and they get annoyed when they're in a quiet space. So you were in a quiet space, and out of that came something so beautiful and so empowering for women, and so educational and so unifying. So I definitely appreciate that. Another thing that I have noticed just by following your social media and things like that is you give some really pretty dope advice, like you're giving now, especially to the future of medicine. So what are 3 things that you would encourage students at their beginning of their healthcare journeys to remember?
Remember why you ever started. Okay, that was one of the best advice I got from a family friend who happened to be an OB-GYN. And I was interviewing with her in Macon, Georgia. It was a program called Mercer. And she was actually the only Black woman in the program. And she told me, this is really tough. You're probably going to be fine if you came here, but it's a really tough environment for so many reasons. But I want you to remember why you started. Write it on somewhere visible. And I decided I'm a lipstick girl. So I decided to write it with old lipstick. It was like this really purple, almost black lipstick that I bought because I don't know why. And I decided to keep it, and it was going rancid because makeup does go rancid. And so I decided to use it to write on my mirror the reasons why I got started. My twin brother passing away. Why, I wanted to be the surgeon that trains like an elite athlete. I wanted to be an example for my future daughters, right? I wanted all these things. So I wrote them why I got started. And that, there were so many days where I would do a 24-hour shift. I just finished one. I just did a 24-hour shift, and I would look at it. I don't do it anymore. I have it in front of my office. I have it there that I can see. But, back then I just wanted to see it every day. So when I was brushing my teeth, I saw it. So know why you got started. It can't be about money. It can't be about clout. It can't be about proving your parents wrong or proving them right. It can't be about impressing people. You have to have a real reason, something that can stand the test of time, because times you have highs and lows in life. The one thing about medicine that is unique to other fields is the training is extremely long. So you need to know it's running a real marathon. You're going to have periods of sprints in between. And after those sprints, you're going to feel like, oh my God, why did I ever do this? You need to be able to look at that and remember so that you get rejuvenated and you get motivated. Self-motivation is so important in this game. The second thing that I think is super, super, super important is make sure that you stay focused. Your eyes have to be on the prize. That's why I said I train like an elite athlete. I was an athlete my whole life. I'm not a musician. If I sang for you, you will cry. The only person that can hear me sing is my husband. And that's why he's my husband. So, I play ball, I play volleyball, I'm a runner, I still am an athlete. And people don't understand how all these years I still go to the gym at least 6 times a week because it is the discipline that I got from athletics. I have put it into myself. And that is the focus, the same type of focus that I put into my career. Because you can look behind me, there are lots of books. I read these books still. It's important that you keep your mind sharp and that you learn more and more things because what we do is so important. We help people. And so the more tools you have in your toolbox, the more that you're able to navigate situations that might be tough. That's the second thing, focus. And the third thing is very related to focus, but I have to give it its own honors and its own flowers, which is shut out the noise. I and you probably went through your training without a lot of distractions. The distractions were, are you going to go to the club? Are you going to hang out with this guy? Are you going to sit up and watch TV? But now there is constant distractions in your phone. Couldn't imagine it. Wouldn't want to live it. But you guys are, right? And you want to make sure that you don't get so focused on the now that you sacrifice the future for now. And, I cringe sometimes when I hear some things like, for instance, if you're in medicine, you're a 23-year-old, I was a 23-year-old first year medical student. Mm-hmm. And I remember thinking to myself, 23, I'm just starting medical school. I finished undergrad at 21 and I had finished my master's. I have 2 masters. I had finished my master's by 23. So technically, my friends who went to undergrad had worked for 2 years, so they had some money. I had friends who went to law school who were on their second year of law school, about to become third year law students. So they were about to be making bank. Mm-hmm. I had friends who had finished their master's and gone to work, and they were making close to $100,000. At a 23-year-old, that's a lot of money. But I knew I wanted to be in medical school, which meant that I was extremely poor. And I used to feel like I would go back then to the club and I would make sure I got there early so I can go girls free before midnight. And I would have my friends roll up there at 2 a.m., 1 a.m. because they could pay the door and they can get a table. And I couldn't. And I used to feel, woe is me, to see my friends buying new Nissans. At that time, that was a huge deal. Or, buying a Mercedes for the first time, right? And all of those things are things that you want. But delayed gratification, because now I live a life that many of them can't dream of. Not to say that is like me being arrogant towards them. It's just telling you that delayed gratification is king in this game. It is king. And there's so many distractions, staying focused, learning how to put your blinders on and stay focused. That is so, I can't stress how important it is because there's so many of them. There's so many dopamine fixes, I knew so many undergrad medical students who spent a lot of their time, for instance, creating content, right? I'm a content creator of sorts. I wouldn't really say it because I don't go out of my way to create content. It's always while I'm doing something else. But I would say I'm somewhat of a content creator. And I think this is a wonderful way to express yourself artistically and to share yourself with the world, but not at the expense of the main thing. The main thing is the main thing. I have not been on Facebook since 2011. What happened in 2011 for me? I took step 1. When I took step 1, I cut off every distraction for 6 months, got in the 99th percentile. That is what opened all the doors for me. That was the one thing, the one solitary thing. I know now it's pass fail, but it was the one solitary thing that opened the doors for me. And all it was 6 months. And you hear that a lot on Instagram. 6 months of focus, and then you will change your life. It is insane what you can do with your life in 6 months.
I love all of those, and they are very important, especially the finding your why. I feel as though a lot of times we go through the motions. Of course, you have to write your personal statements when you're entering medical school, and then when you're going into residency and fellowship, it keeps going and going and going. But when those times get hard, you have to remember your why. Why are you here? Why are you sacrificing so much? who do you want to serve? Who do you stay true to when it's time to negotiate? Like, what kinds of opportunities are you open for? What things are non-negotiable for you? So it's important to, if you don't put it on your mirror to look at every day, put it somewhere. Keep it on your computer in a drive, put it in your phone, screenshot it, save it as a picture, something, so that you can go back and kind of figure that out. Because at the core, it usually stays the same throughout. Of course, you may evolve over time and may want different things than when you come in as a first year medical student. I certainly thought that I would be like a underserved care, even though, yes, working to decrease those healthcare disparities, but I thought that I'd be working in community health centers for 30 years. And as you guys listen, we're not here for me, but times have changed. So it's okay to evolve with your journey, but always look at that foundation and your why, and then always remain focused, because yes, there will be distractions. Things will happen, like life be life, and like, just because you're in medical school or you're applying to medical school or you're an early career physician or even old physician, like, things happen in life, and you're not, like, you may be thinking you're living in a bubble, but you're not living in a bubble. There will be times where there will be national tragedies, personal tragedies. Someone close to you may pass away. There may be weddings that are going on, ones that you may have to miss, bachelorette parties, all of these different things, people having babies. You sometimes may be also getting blinded towards like comparison, but also knowing that your time is coming and it's going to come when it's right for you. So if you're studying for your step 1 and you can't go to a party, okay, you're going to live your best life when it's your time. So that's my little rant, but I definitely appreciate the insights. My final question for you is one that I love to ask my guests because I get so many different types of answers. We all know that the U.S. healthcare system is less than ideal and it has some opportunities for growth. If you had a magic wand, what is one thing you would change about the healthcare system?
I would ensure that physicians are well compensated so that they can actually spend time with patients. The fact that we have a healthcare system that reimburses sometimes $6 for a well-woman visit is really makes it so that you're going to cram in 48 patients in a day. And so how can a patient really ask questions? How can a physician even not be burnt out to be able to give proper care to their patients? It's really, I think that we overlook that part and we think that, oh, physicians are well compensated. Not really, because if you go for the time that they put in, not just in training, but in a day-to-day basis. And, you know, what we do is a labor of love because it involves an emotional dumping a lot of the time, in addition to a physical and health specific dumping. A lot of the times you're tired, not just because of the care that you're giving to patients, but because of the emotional strain it's on you. So allowing physicians the ability to be able to be well compensated so that they can actually really take good care of patients. I think the trickle down effect, instead of trying to put bandages on the system, that would be what that would be my recommendation.
I would definitely appreciate that if that were the case, but I think that it's time for everyone to advocate for that and learn how to say yes or no to what you are worth. There are companies now in telehealth who are trying to pay people pennies on the dollar for certain care. So it takes a time where you need to stand up for what you're worth and learn how to negotiate that. Of course, when you're in medical school and in residency, sometimes it's not necessarily your own, but that's why it's very important to learn the business of medicine so that you can structure your career in a way that works for you.
Yes, exactly.
So this was such a wonderful conversation, and I'm so glad that you gave us the time to share your words of wisdom. How can our listeners reach out to you?
Well, I run a couple of digital platforms, and I actually am the one on there. So on Instagram, it's i.am.dr.arumala. It's just I am Dr. Arumala. That's my main page. And there I share everything from relationships to family, fertility, finances. I talk about basically the whole woman. Then I have a smaller page called Noble X Dr. Arumala, and that's my practice page. I am a partner in a cosmetic and GYN surgery practice called Noble. And there I really just hone in on GYN surgery, cosmetic surgery. So if you're interested in that kind of thing, everywhere from lasers to injectables, we talk about all of that. And then I do want to talk about, my podcast, the Pretty in Pink podcast. Pretty in Pink podcast is coming back season 3. And so we're going to be talking, it is actually focused on 5 F's: faith, family, fertility, finances, and friendships. So we're going to be talking about the F's this season, and we're going to have the most prolific guests coming to talk to us and answering a lot of questions. It's been a long time coming because I haven't done an episode since 2021.
That's awesome. And I'm sure everyone is going to go and subscribe right now. I just want to thank you once again for sharing your information and your pearls of wisdom with us. For all of the listeners, be sure to click subscribe. Go look at both of our podcasts. This is now on YouTube. We'll also be sharing some clips on Instagram when they come out. And I want you guys, if you have any recommendations for guests or topics, to definitely message me on Instagram at Dr. DeGram, DOCTOR, the letter DGRAM, and we'll try to make it happen. So see you guys again next week with another fantastic guest. Bye.
Each episode of the Prospective Doctor podcast is brought to you by Med School Coach. To access articles, videos, webinars, and free tools to help you succeed on your journey toward med school and beyond, visit our website, prospectivedoctor.com. We hope you tune in again next time.